that's a part of the city of Clearwater.
All right, so we avoided the sensitive and real question, and we got back to people in this community, and that's appreciated. Martin Luther King Jr. has been quoted in saying, "Our lives begin to end the very day we become silent about things that matter." This community center matters in this community. I shoved my face in this park and then through those front doors, not for myself, not for my wife. Stop crying. Not for myself or for my wife, but for the good of the people in this community and for the good of my community. I will continue to do it, and again, I am not going anywhere. You cannot get rid of me.
All right, so that question was about 30 seconds. That answer was about 30 seconds, right? So let's try and keep all of them to 30 seconds now.
Really short. Every person, every neighborhood, every street in this city is important. I want to make sure that on these huge projects with these big numbers that I hear voters talking about, that we're not sacrificing the quality of every street, every person, every neighborhood for very expensive projects. We need to make sure we do what's right for our neighborhoods first.
This is a beautiful facility that is here. And I want to say thank you for those that stood up and fought for it to stay here and to renovate, because that roof up there needed some major work. And that's why it was going to be torn down. And that was taken care of. We need to make sure, I will make sure that we have projects, that we have activities that are here, that are vibrant, that are going to be producing the funds needed to keep this place independent and viable, because the board of directors here don't want to be told by somebody else what to do. They want to select what is best for them.
Right.
This hits a personal note for me. As a young working mother, I didn't have the luxury to stay home during the summers, and the rec center on MLK on the south side saved me, gave my children a safe and wonderful place, and I can go to work with a peace of mind. So the answer is absolutely. This is the cornerstone of the community, and as a young mother, it provided so much for me, and I need to do that for the rest of the community. Absolutely.
This is the community center, and obviously you are all proud of this organization and this facility, and I would support the continuation of this facility in this spot as long as I could. It is a big yes.
All right.
I will not only support this facility, but I also support expanding it and making things better in this community, in this building, and in this neighborhood. So my answer is yes.
Obviously, I would support this building. We've worked to help install LED lights to bring down the cost of operations, save money in here. I think we need to bring more life and energy into this, and I would work to do that as well. Have it be used and open many more hours than it is.
Yeah, I started off with a very honest answer. I didn't lie about not having spent time here looking for your vote. I want you to know that I'm going to tell the truth. So when I say that I will definitely stand with you, I will. And I will fight for you. This is not a lie. This is what's in my heart. And when I hear developers getting up and asking for $400,000 for their awnings for an apartment complex, folks that have money, I stand up and say that money should be going for affordable housing and to help people who need the help, not rich corporations.
Thank you. All right. Since one of the candidates kind of brought this up, let me go back to the cards. Real quick. What can you do to impact or increase the library hours and the school hours for all the neighborhoods? What can you do to impact or increase the library hours and pool hours for the neighborhood? The library is not open on Saturday.
So I imagine that's funding, and we've got to find funding to keep those open. we're spending $64 million for Imagine Clearwater when we're not sure that that's going to work. You know, we've got to figure out a way to scale that back and put the money into our communities and into our lives to make our lives better.
Just open the library.
I think we need to keep our libraries open longer. I think our rec centers need to have more parity, which means when I'm out canvassing and I notice that the Morningside Meadows pool is open at night and families are able to attend it on weekends, and the Greenwood Rec Center or the Ross Norton pool down there is not open on a Sunday. Or later into the summer when I'm out there knocking on doors and it's 90 degrees and I'm like, how come kids aren't in that pool? We need that. And so that's what I would advocate for when I say parity or equality. If we need to get a heated pool there, then let's get a heater. Let's make it even.
I would agree with my fellow candidates here. I think that consistency is key. The main library is open a lot longer than any other library in the city, and I think it's important that every library be open the same amount of time so that one neighborhood isn't getting a better benefit than the others, because every neighborhood is important. So I would support expanding the hours of both the pools and of the libraries.
We'll see.
I too would support standardization of library hours. As it relates to the pool, one of the issues is that the state of Florida has more young children drowning than any other state in the union, and there is a difficulty in finding young people, finding anyone who is qualified to be a lifeguard in a pool, and that becomes a significant issue for our community. But if we can find those people, absolutely.
So I believe that every community is unique, but that does not mean that they're not equal, and at this moment it's not. In terms of funding, it's quite easy. If we fix all the duplication and abuse of some of the processes in the government, and we streamline it and make them accountable and efficient, run the city more like a business, then we'll easily find the funding. There's a lot of wastage going on. So that's it.
When our children do not have a safe place to go where it's organized, where they are able to go and learn and be safe, like in the library or in the swimming pool or in this center right here, when we do not give them that ability, what happens? They're out there.
Yeah.
They're out there.
Yeah.
That is that crazy?
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we allocate. Look, we just lost $250,000 because of mismanagement in the city, in the department, the rec department. We need to bring that and use that properly to be able to provide for our citizens, for our children.
I'm not going to share too much because I really don't know the issues here and exactly what kind of hours we were talking about and how they've changed. But I will say what Mr. Santana just said is absolutely correct. Our kids in our communities, not just in Clearwater, but in our work all over the country, they need safe places to play and recreate. And we have a duty as a community to provide that. And if that means we need to provide more open hours for them to do that,
Not me.
and providing that opportunity for our families and particularly for our youth in Clearwater should be a priority, and absolutely, yes, we should open up the hours and make it available to our community.
They should.
All right. They say I don't need it, so you can still hear me, right? That's that coaching and teaching voice I possess. So I will use that microphone. Yes, absolutely, I support that. It's again finding that balance between making Clearwater a destination and a tourism spot and the quality of life. Let's be real. We found $100+ million to develop a beach. We're going to find $60-some million to develop Imagine Clearwater. You bet your bottom they're going to find plenty of money to build a new city hall and to build a parking garage and to take care of the Phillies. So they can give me the keys and I'll open up your library.
All right, so here's the next question. Since we're talking about pools, why do you have to pay when you go to the Greenwood pool and no other rec center has to pay? Just real quick. I'm just reading off the card. I'm sorry. Do you pay?
Say it again.
Check, check.
Okay. The question was, why do you have to pay when you go to the Greenwood pool and you don't have to pay at any other rec? Okay, so that's not true. So whoever, okay, bad question. All right, young man. Woo. No, not you, young man. Him, young man. The other young man. Check.
All right.
All right.
Hello, my name's Kadir. I had a question for all you guys. Well, I wanted to see you guys' stance on freedom of religion and as stated in the Bill of Rights. I just wanted to know all you guys' position on it and how you guys stand. That's basically it.
No. Freedom of religion. No. Freedom. Unfair.
When you come into an NAACP, one of my NAACP meetings, you need religion out there.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't matter if you're Muslim or Jewish or Christian or
Whatever.
just political.
Yes.
So they want to, I'm sorry, do you want to repose it or do you want?
I just want to know where you guys' stance on, with the Constitution, your stance on like religion and like everyone's freedom to...
No. Do you support the Constitution as it relates to religion?
Yes, absolutely. We support the Constitution as it relates to freedom of religion.
Yes.
That's it. That's it.
As a veteran, absolutely.
Yes. That's it.
Yes, I do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes, and the separation of church and state.
All right.
Ditto. And yeah, I absolutely do, and that goes for Scientology as well.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Thank you for all your answers.
Don't do that.
Next question.
Don't do that. That's right. Don't do that. Thank you, Captain. Next question.
One of the biggest tragedies in this community is probably about 100 yards in back of you right now. Yes. We have ancestors that are unpeacefully resting on sacred ground. What would be a plan for you to organize and implement a strategy to investigate that, to see just how many of our ancestors are laying unpeacefully on the property behind us?
My God, that's incredibly important, and we need to do whatever we can to make sure that that's fully investigated and that bodies are treated honorably and given a place to rest.
I agree too, if it's city-owned property, we need to do what we can to ensure, to determine whether or not there are bodies there and how to respectfully remove them and give them a proper burial, whatever families want to do. If it's private property, I think we need to work with those owners, encourage them to do that as well.
As a city councilman, I would do everything in my power to make sure that all that can be done will be done to make sure that the remains are properly buried and they're resting peacefully rather than how they are now.
This is obviously a nationwide issue. The city of Tampa has the issue, and it's been in the neighborhood and the newspapers for weeks and weeks and weeks. Didn't know that we might have that same opportunity here to find out if we have ancestry who have been buried and now the burial grounds have disappeared and we don't know where they are. So I would absolutely be in favor of going through that process and determining where they are and who they are.
I actually had a conversation with Allison Dolan from the Historical Society, and she's one of the people who was instrumental in identifying records that showed those deceased. And when she told me the story, it struck a chord. Honoring our ancestors and the proper burial is very personal and very important, and it should be a right. So I would definitely try to facilitate a manner to respectfully deal with those bodies with the least amount of hoo-la-la, you know what I mean? It's such a personal matter. So yes, absolutely, I would do it.
I find it personally insulting that we even have to approach this. That's hollow ground. That is where our people are buried in. As a city council person, I am going to pursue that in order to make sure that that property comes back and is respected properly. We will compensate those private owners for it, but I think that property is beyond for sale or beyond that private. It should become part of the public domain, and we should honor our ancestors.
Yes, we should investigate it. We should treat anybody who's found with the greatest of respect.
Yes, absolutely. I think you're discussing the property behind us that we built a school on, correct? I think we had the same conversation in this community about the Frank Crum building, correct? I think we had a group of people that went to the city and asked them for the records and what happened and who's buried there, and they told you, we don't know. That's terrible. That's a disgrace, and it should start with an apology to every single family member that's still alive that has a loved one buried behind us.
Right, there was a young lady that had a question about traffic. Where are you? You guys having fun still? Yeah. Okay. We'll push it a little longer.
Hi, I was just wondering when you were, I was just wondering your ideas about improving transportation throughout the city. It's terrible. I mean, you were talking about kids having summer jobs. How can they get there? I know the bus system offers free bus travel generally over the summer, but how would kids get from here to maybe to work at the Philly State, during spring break and things like that? You can't walk it, they don't have cars, so, or work down at the library, or work at Boston or the pool, or whatever. How do you get there?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. It's one of the reasons 3 years ago I joined the Citizens Advisory Committee for Forward Pinellas. I got sick and tired of seeing us as a city and county and a region dealing with over-congestion and traffic by laying more asphalt and concrete. You can only lay so much asphalt and concrete before you run out of room. There has to be other programs in long-term place in place, and if it's not fixed rail systems, it's develop high-speed bus transit. If it's not that, it's develop ride-share programs that get kids to and from. But there's definitely some great questions that need to be addressed, and for too long we've put those concerns aside and answered them with asphalt and concrete, and that's not the answer for long-term.
The voters I talk to, traffic congestion is far and away the most important topic that they want addressed by the upcoming city council. It affects everybody. It affects the elderly who have a difficult time getting back and forth to Publix to get groceries. It affects the youth, as you're talking about. It's funding-wise, it takes a collaboration with state agencies primarily, sometimes federal government. And I've been to Tallahassee and I've talked to our state legislators and lobbied for more transportation money for Clearwater. I continue to do that if I'm elected to the city council. What I'm told in Tallahassee is that as a community, we need to start picking priorities. Say, this is the most important priority. For me to start is Gulf to Bay. It's a major thoroughfare to get our workers in and out of downtown Clearwater, onto the beaches, to work. It's start there and start with some priorities and work together with other agencies to solve all of our community, all of our transportation problems, including public transportation. We need better public transportation and affordable ways for folks to get from one place to another.
Thank you.
Is when you have to wait an hour or two to get a bus, so that it will take you somewhere near, maybe if you're lucky, near where you're gonna go to, and if you miss that bus, forget it. you're fired because you're gonna be late to work is unacceptable. You know, we have too many cars on the road right now, and having more roads is not gonna resolve that. And those of us that are marginal in our income need to be able to not have a car and not have gasoline and not have insurance, because we cannot really do that. It is important that as a community here in Clearwater, we start making decisions based on being able to get people from point A to point B. Our bus system needs to be improved.
All right.
It's a huge challenge, and we have to look long range, so nothing's off the table. We have a lot of great technologies coming out there, and the conversation needs to start. Aerial vehicles, aerial gondolas, different modalities, and a lot of companies out there with new technologies, because the problem's not going to go away, and we have people who need to go from point A to point Z, and we have to explore all our options. But there's a lot of exciting options out there, and I would love to start having conversations with Uber and Bev and Line, all these different companies that have very innovative ways of modality and transportation. So nothing off the table. We need to really get into this.
20 years ago, I was chairman of the Transportation Committee in the Clearwater Chamber of Commerce, and we met with major employers like Honeywell. And the question was, how do we get our employees who live in Pasco to come to our business in time so that they can have a full-time job? Not to mention the fact that affordable housing is an issue as well as transportation. So transportation is a regional issue, and it has been addressed time after time after time. And there are studies after study after study, and we still have no resolution. I would like to see private enterprise being brought in and dealing with our communities, with our cities, to find answers. But we need collaboration, because obviously we don't have any answers.
That's all right.
This is definitely a concern that I see on a daily basis with our CNAs, with our housekeepers, and it's tough, because as someone said, if they miss the bus, they're missing that bus, and the next one's not coming for a long time. So we have that issue, and what I would do is I would bring groups of, whether they're businesses or users of the current transportation systems, I would bring them together in a coalition and find common ground and find ideas, a think tank per se, of ways they believe we could improve. Because, you know, Scott Thomas or anybody at this table isn't going to be able to think of something on their own. It's going to take a community, so I think we need to get the community involved.
I think we need to get the state involved and have it fund more our public transportation systems around here. We need to advocate as council members, go up to Tallahassee, just like we need to advocate for the Sadowski Fund, we need to advocate for our county transportation. We need to make sure that our affordable housing is close to transit routes. We need to increase those transit routes so it doesn't take 4 hours to get 20 miles down the road. You know, it takes money, it takes creativity. I would work on innovative solutions like a high-speed rail. Even to get people from Clearwater over to the airport would be an improvement.
As with everything, Kathleen is right. I grew up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and I remember a bus would come by every 15 minutes in my neighborhood. And you can get a transfer, and I would constantly hop on the bus and go visit the museum. It was one of my favorite places to go in the city, and I knew I'd always have a ride handy. To know that people have to wait an hour for a bus here is insane. We've got to do better than that. And also, well, let me tell you a little bit, since Bob Cundiff couldn't be here tonight. He was pushing for a monorail
Thank you.
from the beach.
There was another young man, let me see another, there was a young lady that had a question.
Hi, thank you all for being here, first of all, and I hope that you recognize how important your views are to all of us. I think someone back here asked the question, they said, what are your top 3 priorities? And one of the things that I was listening for was not just affordable housing, but because there's a huge umbrella when you say affordable housing, but the difference between affordable housing and home ownership. And I know that it's great, it's fantastic when people people are learning, you're teaching children how to swim, and you're creating opportunities for rec centers and jobs for youth. But I think one of the most important things in the North Greenwood community are opportunities for home ownership. And that's something that creates legacy. And so what, maybe within 30 seconds, I don't know if that's possible. First of all, are you a homeowner? Because obviously that's probably pretty important to you, and so it should be important to the other people that you're representing. Are you a homeowner in this community? And second of all, hold on. And then second of all, what is your primary objective to create home ownership in this community?
Okay, I'm a renter. I would love to be a homeowner, and the city does have some good programs that do help you with the down payment to get into a place. I love this project that Detroit has going, where they're building tiny homes, and it costs about $50,000 to build a tiny home. They build them anywhere from 120 square feet to 400 square feet, and then you can rent to buy them. So if you want a 400 square foot home, it's $400 a month for rent. After 10 years, you've paid it off and it's yours. So that's a program I'd love to see here.
There are programs where we can, as Mr. Bunker alluded to, accessory dwelling units where one property can have another smaller unit on it that can be owned or leased out to people. But you're talking about home ownership. And I think, there's programs where renters are rewarded for paying their rent on time, and they can build equity up to $1,000 a year, and then you save it and you have a down payment. I think those are creative ways to work with it. One thing I'd like to investigate is Habitat for Humanity style homes that are duplexes where people own their half. And I know that I'm a homeowner, but I share walls with other people. I own a townhome, so I don't own all the dirt underneath. And I think if we can have creative ways for people to own property and share that property as well.
Thank you.
I am a renter. When I moved here 2 years ago, that was the easiest thing. I'm looking to be a homeowner. I'm currently looking for a house. But I also think that in order for people to come to the area and to be able to buy a house, we need to have good quality jobs. So I think it's important that we do encourage businesses to come in so that people can afford to buy a house. That's the #1 priority that we should have.
I too am a homeowner, and I think owning a home is an objective of everyone, especially people who have families. It's a place to belong, and you own it, and you're there, and that's your place. And I think, as was mentioned a moment ago, Habitat for Humanity is probably one of the best organizations I can think of that is actively out there in the marketplace and helping people have homes that they otherwise couldn't afford. I would just like to see Habitat be able to expand its capacity so that it reaches more people who are in need.
All right.
I'm a homeowner, and I've been for a while, and I know the sense of pride and the sense of family that comes with owning a property, and the security that comes that you're working on something. So home ownership is very important in many ways. I would like to support Habitat for Humanity, but there's a couple of other programs that are just emerging that are specific to new owners. And it's about the loans and lowering the price, lowering the down deposits. I wanted to look into that. But home ownership definitely is a cornerstone of a community. And I definitely support, especially the new owners.
Thank you.
I am a homeowner, and let me tell you that the stability that comes from home ownership is something that is vital for our community. I have 3 daughters and 1 son, and they all are in need of getting their own place. And let me tell you that there's a lot of programs out there right now. We can talk about building affordable housing, but there's a lot of programs out there that will take somebody that has a job, that has a history, may not have good credit rating and everything, but be able to get them into a home, and they give them between $5,000 and $25,000 down. And that is available in our community. We need to get that out there and get more of our people involved and have home ownership and stability.
I was a homeowner for 25 years. I'm not currently a homeowner, but I've been a homeowner for 25 years and believe in the value of home ownership. We have a real challenge in Clearwater. When you go to get petition cards signed, you go to workplaces to try to get petition cards signed, you find that very few of the people who work in Clearwater live in Clearwater. You ask them why, they can't afford to live in Clearwater is what they tell you. But they can't find the right housing. So it's not just for our young family, it's for a lot of families that can't afford to live here. We need to find places to have more affordable housing. Habitat for Humanity, help those organizations find places for our folks to affordably live and work in Clearwater.
Thank you.
No, I think that's a very good question. It's very important, not just to this community, but to so many communities. And the opportunity of, and I am a homeowner in the city of Clearwater, right around the corner, my wife and I live proudly, are your neighbors. Having a home and owning your home does establish a legacy. It establishes security for your family, and it's super important. You know, we can all stand up here and discuss some of these amazing options in federal and state and county programs and expanding HEP and tiny houses, but unless we're getting into your community and sitting down with you and educating you on what those opportunities are and what those programs are and what your options are, we're just sitting here sharing ideas. So I will be in the community. I'm willing to sit down at any time at the library since I got the keys to it now. And we can find those opportunities.
All right, well, coming close to the end. Is it okay if I ask you a question? Yeah. Okay, so, there's 2 questions left. All right, I'm going to hold the mic so that you guys are long with me. So, first question is, what is your position on red light cameras? The second, that's a yes or no. Second question is, do you think the Clearwater Beach is #1 per TripAdvisor and the investment benefits the city? Do you think the Clearwater Beach is #1 per TripAdvisor and the investment benefits most in the city? That's also yes or no. So red lights and beach. No.
All right, I'll be quick. Red lights, no. I've done research and it causes more accidents. The beach is for an investment. It's one of the biggest investments our city's made, so I support it.
Yes, no. Yes, no.
No, I am not a fan of the red light cameras. I would not support keeping them. It's not constitutionally right, and so no. On the beach, lots of revenue for our city. Need to spend that revenue wisely on all of the city, but definitely it generates lots of revenue for our city.
Okay, here we go again. Am I asking these questions? Yes? No.
I am absolutely no when it comes to the red light, and when it comes to the